Okay, so yeah, this is my first time streaming, guys, so please tell me if I'm doing anything wrong, if I could do something better, if you guys can't hear me or can't hear the games that well or anything like that, just please point it out. Like I said, I'm very new to this, so I'm probably gonna do a lot of stuff wrong. Um, so yeah, just help me out throughout the entire process. Just make sure that you guys can see me just fine. Perfect. Cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna start in the order that I see here. If any of you are currently online and you want me to play your game first, feel free to just message me on either Twitch or Discord, and if I see that message, I'll make sure to play your game. I'm gonna try and do as many games as I can tonight. If I can, I'll do all of them. Obviously, I'm not gonna be doing my game. I'm just gonna be skipping that one, unless you guys want me to. But again, I'm not gonna have a lot of stuff to say about my own game, seeing as how I made it. Um, so yeah, cool. So let me get started. Also, as a disclaimer, if any of these games are too hard to play, and by that I mean it's not as simple as just like quickly installing it or playing it on the browser, then I might skip them. I do remember there was at least one or two games on here that when I initially played them, it took me a long time in order to be able to play them, and it got really frustrating. I did it, but I will not be repeating that process. So, yeah. Okay. So, In Search of the Frisbee Tribe by Pandahead Interactive. Cool. Perfect. It's a browser. Okay. I like the art style so far. I've always liked it when it's very simplistic, um, but it does convey a certain tone, which I like. Okay. Okay. Let me just make sure. I can't tell if there's supposed to be sound on here. I can hear everything just fine. Um, cool. I don't think. Seems fine. Cool. Okay. Yes, please. Okay. Pretty straightforward goal. Same. He just said what I was thinking. Or she. I'm not entirely sure what this character is, not that it matters. For the first game, right? By the way, also another disclaimer: some of these games, if they end up being too long, I'm obviously not going to play through the entire thing. I'll play just enough to get a good feel of the game and be able to provide some feedback. Um, I also like to focus on the game that I'm playing, so I will apologize if I'm extremely quiet throughout my playthroughs. But like I said, I just want to focus on the game, and then I'll provide my feedback toward the end of it. Okay, that should give me four, right? Okay. Okay, so that was kind of confusing. It said do not read this sign again, but I read it a first time. So was it punishing me then and then also warning me, or was that a glitch? No idea. But I guess now I have three frisbee coins. Let me see if I can get another one. I also wonder what would happen if I continue reading the sign and I just lose all the coins. Is there a way for me to get them back, or could that potentially be a soft lock? I'm not curious enough to experiment with that right now. Okay, I was not expecting that. Uh, I kind of liked it. Um, I thought it was funny. It was really nice. I have to admit, I did like it. I think feedback. I guess I like how simplistic it is. I like the sense of a very small adventure. I've always liked the idea of like a local adventure, right? It's not necessarily you're trying to save the world or the universe or the galaxy or anything like that. So I really like that. I think, if anything, I would have loved it if it were longer. But I understand that this was part of a game jam, took a week, so it's completely understandable. I don't think it suffered because of it. But I would definitely love to see um, this game being taken further, potentially worked on so that the story is longer, there's more to the story, and potentially kind of using that simple sort of like humor through a twist. This idea that, okay, this entire time you thought you were going to get to the ending and you were going to get off the planet, but no, in the end, you just became another citizen of this population one. town. Um, so nice, yeah. So let's keep going to the next one. Let me make sure nobody's messaged me. I said I'll get better at this at some point in the future, so I don't know exactly how to set it up so I can see messages without having to check every so often. So for the time being, this is what I'm doing. Um, so yeah, so Attack of the Clowns. Okay, Attack of the Clowns submitted by I. I'm assuming that's I Buckwheat. Sure. Super Guajiro, Mauro Davidson, and BYC Diaz. Cool. Let's check it out. Perfect. Browser. Controls. Like that sound effect. They're all dead. Oh, wait, no. Wait, does this keep going? It does keep going. Okay, but I can't go out. I got excited there for a second. Oh, okay. Let's try that one more time. So I see this score is going up by time, and I'm assuming by however many clowns I take out. So it's almost like a survival game. Survival beat 'em up, I guess. Okay, pretty nice. Get out of this so it stops making that sound. Okay, so I guess feedback for this one. I like it. I do like the sound effects. I think they add a nice. It feels like the punches have weight to them. Like they're actually doing some form of damage, which I think a lot of people don't appreciate how important sound design can be for game juice and the feel of the game itself. So I think that you nailed that. But I do think it can be added to. So definitely particle effects, maybe smoother animations. Again, I'm also saying all this under um, the knowledge that this is a game jam game, right? You know, like you had to make things quick. You obviously didn't have the time to polish everything. So any suggestions that I give here is under the pretense that you guys might take these games further than the game jam itself. So yeah, you know, like I think feedback is very important. And there were moments where I was punched, but I guess I never realized that I was punched. And because the sound effect of me punching the clowns to the clowns punching me is the same, it wasn't always that clear. So I would definitely look into maybe using different sound effects. Also, I think another thing that would go a long way is just enemy variety. And it doesn't have to be anything too crazy. It could just simply be how do the clowns move. I noticed that all the clowns, obviously, their main behavior is just simply get as close as possible to you and punch you. So think of clowns that maybe they'll punch you and then for a couple seconds they'll run away. So you maybe you have to chase them down or something like that. And obviously, even something as simple as clowns that maybe take longer for you to take down, and maybe they deal more damage or they're slower, simple things like that. But overall, I think the game is really nice. So yeah. Um, so the next one, and let me check the messages again. Perfect. Nothing. Okay. So next, Battle of the Walls. Okay. Okay. So it seems like I might have to download this one. This is Battle of the Walls by Talon Adams Game Jams. Um, so awesome. Let's see. Game page. Okay, so I do have to download it off of Bills. So let's do the patched news version. Why not? Obviously, this game jam didn't have any prizes or anything like that, so I don't particularly care if the game has been patched since then. I think that's perfectly fine. So download that. Save. Perfect. Okay. Battle of the Walls. Perfect. Send to. Okay, let's see. Okay, Game Maker. Okay. Push detect the torch. Given through a similar expert enter the competition. PewDiePie, Rabbit, Mighty Flower. Okay. Okay, there's a story. Sailor Moon, Cherry Blossom, the Funky Punk. Oh, let's go. I won the muffin. Perfect. You say that this cafe is random and predicts what the part 3 point. Demonic broccolis. All rain. Oh. Oh. Okay. Let's try that again. Gotta go. Demonic broccoli skull. Okay. So maybe this is where I messed up. So I guess I'll point it out. Here it says Rayen, R-A-E-N, but the correct answer was Raven. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. Yes. Hey, Charity, T-Ruth, Scarlet, Baba Yaga, or Baba Yaga, I don't know how to pronounce it, Twin Phantom, and Anti-Phantom, Biowinter. Okay, so, thoughts about this game. Um, I like I so when it comes to video games, I'm pretty much a lot when it like I'm really into tone and what tone you're trying to convey, and that can be done with a lot of subtle things. And I really like the sound effects that you've chosen, the music that has been chosen. It shows a certain theme, and even though the game is very simplistic in nature, theme and tone goes a long way. And I think in this case, the tone made me. I mean, I kept playing the tutorial over and over. Partly it was because I didn't know I had to go back, but the other part was I was kind of enjoying myself. So I think that's a good idea. If I were to give any constructive feedback, I think I would say play more with the random aspect. You know, maybe look for a way to randomly generate an image. Maybe you have different elements to the image and you just layer them on top of each other, thus creating a new image. And maybe it even randomly generates the title of the image. So that way you increase the replayability factor while still essentially having the same game. Um, but yeah, good job. I really liked it. I think games like these can go a very long way. I know a lot of people might say like, oh no, these games are like they're too simple, they're too basic. I don't care. I really think these games can be very important because a lot of games that we tend to love nowadays are games exactly like this. So again, good job. So okay. Um, okay. Okay, that was Battle of the Walls. Master of Sword Studio. Okay, this is by Joao G.S. Rocha. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Please correct me later. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay, so I send install. Just gonna delete these as I go as well. Battle of the Walls. Battle of the Walls. Okay. Let's say here. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna skip this one for now. Maybe I'll circle back to it later. I don't feel like doing all of this to get the game to run. Um, so yeah, so I'll just come back to this one at some other point in the future. Okay, I guess I could delete that. Okay, so let's skip forward to BoCaf Aim. BoCaf Aim by Nyctoverse. And it says here Mikey, but I guess it's not listed under one of the contributors, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so download. Okay. Yeah, anyway, pretty sure I played this one back when the submissions ended. try that again. I think I know what I'm doing. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so can I only... Why do I keep trying to click? Can I only move by jumping? Guess not. Okay. I need to stop clicking. Okay, I'm gonna give it one more go. So let's see. Okay. So. Okay. 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 No big deal. Similar to what I said about the first game, uh, I'm a big fan of pixel art, and I really like how the character feels when it jumps. I It has a really nice I don't know, it just he feels bouncy, which again goes a lot to do with game feel, tone, what have you. I think that was very well done. Just give me a sec while I okay. So I think that was very well done. The game felt like a game, if that makes sense. Um, Obviously, yeah, the controls weren't working that well for me for some reason after I did that first jump up. The character wasn't really moving for me. I would get him to maybe do a little hop, and that was it. But regardless, assuming that it was working and that maybe I was just really bad at it, one thing that I would recommend is definitely make the lava slower, at least in the beginning. You're not giving enough time to the players to get used to the character jumping. And I know a lot of people might say like, oh, maybe that's the point of the game. The idea is that the game is really hard, so you have to like trial by fire, right? But in this case, your character dies so quickly, you have no time to learn what you did wrong. Like I said, right now I'm not entirely sure if it is part of the game being broken, as it says here in the description, or that I was just not doing something right. So definitely, maybe even make one level that has no lava, and the whole idea is just simply get to the end so you learn how to control the character, and then after that, trial by fire. Throw in the lava, get them to actually try and avoid it. Um, but I mean, aside from that, I think the idea is really good. And I'm not gonna lie, if you were to take this game further, even if the game wasn't a game, if it didn't have a goal of you trying to get to the end, I would probably just spend hours and hours just simply having the character jump around and bounce off different walls and stuff like that, because that felt really good. Um, and I always like it when games can make me feel like I'm doing something amazing, even if all I'm doing is just jumping. So good job. So let's see. Okay. So Jeep Fire. Okay. Jeep Fire by Vladik Huck. Vladik Huck. Okay. Game page. Okay. So download. Okay. I can close that. All right. There's Jeep Fire.
On March 17th, on every year, The Isle of Bean Isle holds a contest. A contest of who can hunt the most jeeps. The inanimate object which is able to hunt the most jeeps for the entire day receives 5. Ever since you were a little kid, it was your destiny to receive that 5. Will you, Pistol McShootface, be able to achieve that goal? We'll find out in Jeep Fire. Ready? 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 Ready?
I think I remember exactly what I need to do.
Ready? Attack!
Oh, at least I beat The Rock. I'm happy I beat The Rock. I think I'm a winner. I'm gonna give myself that. I'm gonna try one more time.
Ready? Attack!
Okay. Well, I still feel like a winner. So I'm gonna continue from this. But yeah, feedback. So I do actually remember playing this one after the game jam, and I do remember I played it a lot. The first time it was simply because I didn't know what I was doing, and I kept dying a lot, like I did in the beginning. Um, but afterward, it's pretty you really get into it. Like you really want to get that 5, I guess. And also that the story and the way the game opens up, it really sells you on this whole idea, which I think is awesome. It feels very wholesome. It feels fun. It just feels like a game that is both fun to play and is having fun, which I think is very important. So I really like that. In terms of the game itself, I would definitely say I felt like I should have been able to shoot those Jeep that were coming toward me. Um, Not because I feel like I needed to, but because the Jeep didn't look any different from the Jeep that I was able to shoot, then it kind of creates a little dissonance there where you're kind of wondering to yourself, like, I know the designer designed it this way, but they're not giving me a reason as to why I can't shoot them. So I would definitely say, just come up with like any dumb little excuse as to why you can't shoot them. I don't know, maybe the Jeeps have some sort of shield in front of them, so they're meant to try and take you out. And that's it, something very simple. Um, but yeah, no, I think the game has a really cute, fun concept. Um, yeah, I think anything else would just be maybe the artwork. They didn't. They're yellow. They didn't feel like Jeep. They felt like taxis. But that's an extremely big nitpick. Like okay, so you're shooting taxis instead of Jeep. It doesn't matter. The idea by itself is just so fun, and um, to an extent, games like these were somewhat what I was kind of hoping to see from this game jam. You know, you were gonna get really weird stuff coming out of the random generators. So I was hoping some people would do that, would say like, you know what, this the stuff that I got is weird. I'm just gonna play with it. I'm just gonna go weird, and that's fine. You know, that's I think that's great. Um, it's a game jam. This is game design. Even though I know there are a lot of games that can be fun, like can be serious and very thought provoking, I think it's also important to just have games that are fun. No problem there. And don't think that just because I'm saying this that it means that all of you who didn't decide to go with anything silly or fun did a bad job. Not at all. You know, I think basically, I guess what I'm saying is there's no wrong way to design a game, at least thematically. You know, if you want to go weird, if you want to go serious, that's fine. Yeah, as long as you're having fun and you like what you're doing. So yeah, great job. Oh, that is very considerate of this game. It's letting me know that I can close it. Okay, so I'm probably gonna do two more games like these last two, and then maybe tomorrow I'll finish the other ones. I've been in meetings all day at work, and that requires a lot of talking. And with this talking, my throat is starting to hurt, and I should have thought about that beforehand. So yeah, I'm just gonna do these two, and then finish up tomorrow. So Castle Cell Alpha Life by Stark. Oh, I haven't checked the messages, have I? Okay, perfect. Okay. I think I vaguely remember this one. I'm assuming this was made in. Just keep getting it. Okay. Oh, clever. um, because I'm assuming this is RPG Maker. At least it looks like it is. I'm assuming I can just do this. I really like the music. Sure. Softly.
Shut up and sit down.
It's good to see he's taking it so well.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Oh wait, if you guys can hear like a movie playing in the background or something like that, my fiance wanted to watch Friday the 13th for obvious reasons. So if you're wondering what those sounds are, that's what that is.
Shut up and sit down.
Oh, that's terrifying. Okay, nice. I am going to stop here. I might continue this on my own time because I kind of want to see where it goes. But I am not going to play this entire thing right now. Okay. So yeah, feedback on this one. So the first thing that stuck out to me was the art style and kind of the feel of the entire game. It reminds me a little bit of Undertale. Not necessarily that it has the same tone as Undertale, um, but it feels like a game where the art style, the kind of story, even the music, it was all thought up around a feel, like a certain feeling, almost like this sort of like if I could describe it, I think I would say something like it's almost like a black comedy, right? Where you're seeing almost these, not a black comedy, almost like a comedy horror or something like that, where it feels very uneasy, it feels sort of scary, but at the same time, there's stuff happening that makes you sort of laugh. For example, like seeing that one monster spinning around in place. I thought it was a glitch, and then when you talk to him, it turns out that he just wanted to spin there. So I thought that was very very clever, and I like that about the game. I will definitely say though, color scheme is something that you also want to consider when making a game, and in this case, that was very important because even though the art style was interesting, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was bad. You know, it wasn't like horrendous. It wasn't assaulting your eyes or anything like that. There were times where it wasn't very clear what the surroundings were or what the different environment pieces were. So I think just simply maybe moving stuff around, changing the colors a bit or something like that could have helped. There were parts of the map where I didn't know exactly what they were or what was supposed to be going on there. So you might have seen me throughout the playthrough kind of like hitting walls or getting stuck behind something. I was mainly that. But like I said, the game itself, or at least the story to me, it presents enough of a mystery where I do want to keep playing it and kind of see where it goes. So, yeah, great. Okay, so this will be the last game for now. Fool's Castle. Okay, Fool's Castle by, is it or UWW, which is it's kind of like a tongue twister. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this one's a download. Should delete that one. Okay. Well, actually, this one I know that I have it on my desktop from last time. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. Let's go back here. So, um, I also remember this game, playing it after the game jam. I also remember having a lot of fun with it. I actually got further that time that I played, so I remember that as the game progresses, it starts introducing more mechanics, which I think is a very good idea. I like when, especially puzzle games, they introduce new mechanics, but mechanics that are simple enough to understand and to layer on top of each other without outright just confusing the player. And I think that's very important. And the way that you introduce those mechanics. I mean, in one of the levels, I think it was level 3, I might be completely wrong. There's a part where you basically lock the player inside of a little box and they can't get out until they push that other box into the button. And that's something simple, and it's pretty basic, right? If you think of games like Metroid, especially like Metroidvanias, that was how they taught their players what the different mechanics were. They would lock you in a room, give you the new power upgrade, and just said like, "Hey, there's only one way you're getting out of this room. It's by figuring out the new mechanics." So I think that's very important. That's very well done. Um, I would definitely say look into using sound effects. The music was nice, it really set the tone, but um, it can easily get annoying as the game progresses. And this is a game that is meant to be played something for a long time. It's made to kind of make you think. Um, so you probably want something that isn't bothering the player as they're doing these decisions. Um, the only other thing that I would suggest, and it's a very small thing, but it's something that as game designers, we sometimes don't think that we need to think about these things, but they're very important, which is camera positioning. Um, it didn't happen to me neither in this playthrough or in the previous one, but I did notice it as I was playing this, where one of the blocks was raised up and the character was right behind the block, so you couldn't really see the character. It's not that big of a deal because you already know where the character is supposed to be, seeing as how it's a grid and you can see the crown. But seeing as how these bombs, explosions, these rings are spawned at the foot of the player, um, if there were any rings there, behind the block that has been raised up, I wouldn't have been able to see them. So potentially that could end up causing a player to lose, and it might feel very cheap to them. It might feel like it wasn't their fault because they didn't have the necessary information to avoid it, and that's part of game design as well. It's always giving your players enough information so that they feel like they can overcome whatever challenge you're throwing their way. Because if not, it just feels like you're almost like trolling them, and you don't want to do that. But no, yeah, like aside from that, like it's a really good idea. I think you can definitely play around with it more. You can definitely expand it. So I would look into doing that. Um, but yeah, but that is going to be it for tonight. My throat is already starting to kill me, so I will leave it here for tonight, and then next time I'll continue um, with the games that I haven't done, and potentially going back to uh, which one was it? It was Master of Sword Studio. Yeah, trying to see if I can get that one to work, and if I can, I can. That is something you'll see it in the next game jam that I'll be hosting, which I will be announcing the date soon enough. I've already confirmed 2 judges for this, and that's not including myself, so it's going to be 3 judges. Um, but one of the things that I did mention for that game jam, seeing as how it will be a judged game jam and all, is the importance of making sure that your games are easily playable. Um, you shouldn't have users go through these extreme lengths in order to be able to install your game and play it. So very important that you learn how to make WebGL builds or simple executables or installers, and that's it. The moment you start telling users like, hey, you have to install this other software and you have to enable this other thing and do this other thing and so forth, um, you're gonna lose them. They're not gonna want to do it. Um, and we're definitely gonna apply that for the next game jam. So keep that in mind. Um, but yeah, this has been fun. Hopefully everything turned out well on your guys' ends. You're able to hear me. You'll be able to see this. Um, yeah, and obviously feedback is very important. So please let me know what stuff I can do in the future to make these streamings better, more fun, more entertaining, or just helpful for you guys. Um, in the end, like I said, I do this for fun. I don't get paid to do this or anything like that. So, and part of the fun for me is helping you guys, not so much make video games, but enjoy making video games. So please let me know. So yeah, good night.